What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. This video today is looking at the top 10 key comics for you broke collectors, man. I've been there, might still be there. I know that we all enjoy this hobby, but not all of us have deep pockets to be able to get all those fancy, expensive keys that we, drool over all the time. So look, I made a video with some really affordable keys that we ain't doing too well. You're struggling. It is what it is. That's life. This is a realistic top 10 for the average collector out there, guys. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. In the words of the great Clay Thompson, holy cannoli, we got some books today. All right. Now, before we get in to the 10 books, I just want to take 60 seconds to give a big thank you and shout out to today's sponsor, popculturezone.com, guys. So in 60 seconds, we shall return with this 10 book countdown. PopCultureZone.com is your go-to online comic shop focusing on hot new comics and incentive variants, CGC graded keys, and tons of other pop culture inventory, including toys, statues, and other collectibles, all available at competitive prices. Don't miss out on taking advantage of their spend $25 for bargain deals option. How does this work? Simply add $25 of product to your cart and receive special deals and discounted prices on countless other inventory. Pop Culture Zone ships all over the US, and for anyone buying raw comics, they offer the flat rate shipping charge of only $5. Taxes are also excluded from all purchases, excluding New Jersey residents. Make sure to check out their website link below and also the link to their eBay store, where they have held a 100% positive feedback score from thousands of reviews, so be sure to follow them there as well. And also, if you are in need of top tier pressing at extremely affordable prices, make sure you check out their link for pressing services. All right, guys, again, make sure you check out all the links in the description below, including the popculturezone.com. Really good people. I might do another video talking about their pressing services really soon, because man, do I stand behind them. All right, you guys are here for some books. You ready to do this? These books aren't in any specific order, but we're going to break it down for you to see what they've been doing on the market and why they're on this list. Are we ready? First book on the list today is Captain America number 217, awesome Bronze Age Cap book. This is the first appearance of Marvel Boy, aka who later becomes QUASAR. Now let's look at these numbers and I'll talk about the book a little bit. Current high grade fair market value. Now when I say high grade, these are high grade raws. We're looking at raw books today, guys, not graded numbers at all. $42 average. So, this book is a decent buy, but you see a lot of red here. Now, peak average. This is what's very interesting about this book. Peak average was $78 back in the fall of 2019. So from that peak, that is a 4-year. It's a 46% decrease. What's interesting about this book is that it didn't hit a peak during the quote-unquote COVID boom, but it had some ebb and flow during the COVID boom too. So I look at this book, and the reason why this book is on my list is because, first off, it is Bronze Age Marvel. So Bronze Age Marvel is always a solid investment, even if you're looking at long-term due to inflation reasons. QUASAR, though, is a character that I believe is a fun character that's gaining popularity, and also there is some live-action spec. Now, you guys know how I feel about live-action spec. There's a way to do it. There's a way to not dive into the FOMO and get screwed, because everything has ups and downs, ebbs and flows when it comes to it, even with the MCU and Marvel. But I do believe QUASAR is going to show up in the MCU. The market's down right now, and we haven't had an announcement or a casting or anything regarding QUASAR. So, by my humble opinion, it could be a decent time to look for a copy of this book. Now, even that $42 high raw, again, it's an average, folks. You could probably find some for cheaper out there, even in high grade. Now, what do I consider high grade? For this video, we're looking at near mint range only, from 9.0 to 9.8. Of course, that's all estimates because they're raw. But high grade could be from very fine and up as well. Now, another thing that I always like to say when I do these videos, I'm not here to tell you guys to buy anything. I'm giving you my personal opinions with actual data and fact, so you guys make your own decisions if this is something that you're looking into. All right, let's go to book number 9 on the list. We got Spider-Man 2099, number 1. Now, this is controversial, but I'm going to call it how it is right now. I'm going to tell you straight up. A lot of people don't recognize this book as the first full appearance of Miguel, Spider-Man 2099. I do. Obviously, we have Amazing Spider-Man 365. That is the first appearance in that preview snippet. I do consider this the first full appearance of the character, and it is also the origin and also his first solo title. Now, this book has been, picking up some steam here and there because of all the Spider-Verse stuff. The current high grade fair market value average going for about $28. It did hit a peak around a $30 average in December of 2021, at the height of the COVID boom, so to say. Obviously, it's just a couple dollars difference, so not much difference going on there, even though that is a 7% decrease from where we're at now from the peak. But if you look at this, 2019, a $13 fair market value average. So right now, that's a 4-year ROI or increase of 115%. Now, the reason why I'm doing a 4-year from 2019 is because in 2019, it was right before COVID hit, and you could see what the market was doing before COVID, came in and kind of changed the game, and you had these COVID peaks where now we're dipping off. So it's healthy to look at these books to say, what are they doing right now compared to pre-COVID? Are they setting new floors still? Are they still up? Because if you look at COVID as an anomaly and then what's happening right now as a correction, then you could still look at the market and say, well, maybe the market isn't actually, doing too bad, and maybe it's still a decently healthy market after this COVID correction if the books set new floors and are still up from pre-COVID. All right. Moving on to book number 8, we got Punisher War Journal number 6. This is a fun one because you have 2 iconic characters to me. 2 characters that were created in the basically, Bronze Copper Age. You got Wolverine featured and versing the Punisher for the first time. Current high grade fair market value is sitting at about $24. The peak right around the same at a $23 summer of 2021. Again, COVID peaks going on right around that summer, fall of 2021. But if you look at 2019, this book was averaging in high grade at $6. So we're about 4% up just with that dollar increase from the peak. But we have a 300% increase from 4 years ago. So this book has definitely gained some traction. I think it's fun because of the 2 characters, but I also think it's interesting because I think through COVID and through so many people having so many more lenses into the hobby with, the boom of YouTube and content creators and, with Key Collector and Cover Price and all these things where we have all this information at our fingertips, we as collectors have started to value these different types of quote unquote key books where these first team ups or first verses have really picked up a bit of steam and a bit of demand. And again, when you take 2 iconic characters like the Punisher and Wolverine, pretty freaking awesome. All right, moving on. Book number 7 on the list. We got Batman 408. This is the origin retold of Jason Todd. Current high grade fair market value sitting at $17. Now, its peak was the summer of 2021. So again, you can see what kind of the COVID boom did to some of these books. That's a 35% decrease. And through my research, guys, where the market is right now, there's a lot of books, even big keys, that are ranging around that 30 to 40% drop. It seems to be a very popular average of drops from the peaks. Most of these peaks happening sometime in 2021, some of them early 2022. But now again, you look at 4 years ago in 2019, the high grade average was selling for $12. So it's still up 42% from then. Now, I am a fan of Jason Todd. I've been saying this for years now. I'm a fan of DC books that aren't getting hyped up by live action spec. Because what do I always say? comic books inherently have value for other reasons. That intrinsic value isn't based on live action. In the FOMO within us over the last however many years has allowed us to believe that, oh, we should only jump on books, or we should only value books when they have to do with a movie or a TV show, and that's not the case. Jason Todd is a great character, especially because of what Jason Todd evolved into. And I do believe, I say this, I do believe that Jason Todd is the Red Hood, is in some ways DC's Deadpool. And I'm not saying, I know, well, Deadpool was created from Deathstroke, and I don't even mean like that. I mean, there are some similarities in characters, but I mean in terms of the fan base and in terms of what they can do in live action, like what Ryan Reynolds did to Deadpool, I think can happen with the Red Hood. And we're going to go into the next book with that being said. So number 6 on the list is Batman 638. Now, this is Red Hood being revealed to be Jason Todd. So another Jason Todd Red Hood key. Now, I'm going to talk about this, but let's look at the numbers. High grade, fair market value average right now, $30. The peak came in spring of 2022 at about 27. So obviously right now from that previous peak, it's still up 11%. So this is a book that survived the COVID boom and didn't really have a drop. Now in 2019, it was averaging $17, which is an increase over that 4 years time of 76%. So this book is holding strong. So again, it goes to what I was saying about the Red Hood. I think the Red Hood has that niche fan base, and I really think that if brought into live action correctly, into this new DCU under James Gunn, which I think James Gunn can do an amazing job with Red Hood, this may be where this live action spec could really play a role into these books kind of booming in the near future. But again, always remember how movie spec and live action spec works. If you're buying the book once a casting is announced, once a trailer is dropped, you're too late to the party. And at that point in time, I often say, let the hype die down, because even though new floors may have been set, maybe if this happens, it's never going to sell for $30 again. Maybe a new floor is $40. Who knows? After a dip, because once it dies off, you usually see that ebb and flow and that dip after the movie's release, etc., etc. But it can hit a new floor and then continue to increase long-term over time because of who and what this character is. All right, guys, we are halfway through the list, but before we get to the remaining 5 books, I want to remind you all, if you are in need of comic book supplies, please check out bcwsupplies.com. Link is below as well. You can use the discount code JOURNOS to receive 10% off of your order, no matter how small or large that order is. And remember, this code never expires. You can use it every time that you order from BCW. And guys, I use BCW for the majority of my supplies, not all, but the majority. And like I always say, I only back companies that I believe in and stand by myself. So with that being said, though, let's get to book number 5 on the list. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 9. This is the second appearance of Spider-Gwen, an awesome second appearance. I mean, her first appearance is definitely holding strong. Current high raw fair market value average right now sitting at about $25. This book has cooled down a little bit from its peak, but get this. This peak wasn't during the COVID boom. This peak was just of spring this last year at 34. Well, you want to know why? Most likely because of all the Across the Spider-Verse hype. So right now, due to the market and probably a little bit of cool off from the hype of the film, it is down 26%. But again, looking back 4 years at that average fair market value of 15, it's still up 64%. So, again, I definitely think this is an awesome, affordable second appearance to own. I think Spider-Gwen has a great future. I think her books are going to hold a long term, of course, again, with ebb and flow. But, if you could find this book for under $20 in a high grade raw, I think it's an absolute score. I can't wait to see more from her character, not only within the animated Spider-Verse realm, but if she gets brought into the MCU, and also for her characters in the comics themselves, and I do have faith. I have faith for these new younger characters to continue to have good stories behind them. I know a lot of people talk about stories being an issue with the big two right now in comics, but I am optimistic for the Spider-Verse characters in the comics as well. Moving on to book number 4, guys. This is one that is really, really nostalgic and awesome to me. I do own this book. I've owned this book since I was a kid. This is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, the movie adaptation book from Mirage. Now, remember, there was also the Archie movie adaptation. That's another a good one that you can find for even cheaper than this, most likely. But this book, it is a square-bound spine. This one's tough to find out there, guys. Now, if you look at these numbers, this book has not sold online on record since June of 2021. Now, I know that was during COVID, and that one sale did sell for $32. So who knows if there are any out there right now that you could find for cheaper than that. I mean, you very well could. But then if you look back to the most recent sales prior to 2021, that would be in 2020, only 2 of them, and they averaged $7. So I think that, look, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are, you know, their first appearance, their Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 from 1984 is already a blue chip key. Some would consider it a modern. It is copper age. That is a blue chip key. This book right here, you know, with all the reboots and the animated movies, haven't seen the new one, but there is something about the original movie that just really, I think, is going to stand the test of time. It holds up to that generation as well. Even my kids like that movie the best out of all of the animated and live action Ninja Turtle movies. So I think that this is a very fun book to go look out for. Like I said, it's not readily available out there all the time. So if you could find this in high grade, I would even love to do further research on this and see what the CGC census has on this book, even though when I looked, there was no recent sales data over the last few years of any actual CGC graded books being sold. So again, a fun one to look out for, especially if you are a Ninja Turtle fan. All right, moving into number 3 again. No order on here, guys. But we got 3 more books to show. This is Uncanny X-Men number 256. I've always loved this book. I have a couple high-grade Ross. I'm thinking of possibly selling one. I don't know because I love PSYLOKKE. I was actually thinking of maybe sending one in to get graded and keeping the raw as well in my run. But I hold on to all my PSYLOKKE stuff. This is the first appearance of the new PSYLOKKE in the new suit and, you know, classic Jim Lee art. So right now this book has a current high grade raw fair market value of about 20. Its peak was 20, and I didn't note it here, but that was during 2021. I do believe it was summer/fall. Sorry for not marking that there. So it's held. It is held. And in 2019, it was at about $11 fair market value. So it's still up 82% from pre-COVID and holding strong with COVID. So I don't really know. I can't tell you why this is holding up. In my humble opinion, I believe that PSYLOKKE is going to continue to be a sought-after character, but I really, really think that a lot of these X-Men characters, their books are holding strong simply because a lot of people that are quote-unquote speculating are looking at the X-Men to show up in the MCU because we know they're going to, at some point, I think we're still a couple years away, then they're looking at these characters, and that's why some of these books are holding ground. I love what Olivia Munn did with the character. I thought she was underutilized in that horrible X-Men Apocalypse film. I think she was a silver lining in that. I wish I saw her more in that film. I think the actress is getting a bit old to bring her back as PSYLOKKE, unfortunately. But I really hope to see this character in the MCU. Absolutely. She is one of the, if not my favorite X-Men characters. All right, next up we have Wonder Woman #1 from 1984. The origin of Wonder Woman, and I just think this is becoming a classic book. George Perez, rest in peace. Amazing artwork, and this run in the retelling of her origin is so well done. And I almost have a complete run of this in my collection. I'm only missing, like, I don't know, maybe 10 books, and most of them are the Adam Hughes books. I don't even know if it's 10 at this point. Anyways, current high grade, fair market value, $40. And we had a peak sitting around that $40 mark too, and that was in the winter of 2021-22. So that's like between December 2021 and February 2022. This book is held strong. Now, we saw some ebb and flow during COVID, simply due to the 1984 Wonder Woman movie, some peaks and valleys, and then it came back up again, and it's holding right now. So that's pretty awesome, I think. Now in 2019, the book was sitting around $22 fair market value, so it's still up 82% since then. So again, I'm a huge Wonder Woman fan. Of course, that's why I have this book on this list. All right, guys, and lastly, we got Silk #1, another character that I do believe is going to have a nice future in the not the MCU, but in the comics themselves, and possibly in the MCU, just depending on what happens with this character with the Sony rights. Is Sony going to utilize this character? There's already been rumors. Or is Sony going to, make bad decisions and just like, oh my gosh, ruin this character? Or is Sony going to really kind of tie this character into the MCU like they've done with Peter Parker, Spider-Man? Who knows? But this is the first Silk solo series. Current high grade fair market value sitting at about $34. Peak was sitting at about $32. Spring of 2021. It's a 6%, from that peak, just with those couple of dollars. In 2019, it was sitting at about $14, so it's still sitting at 143% increase. Solid stuff. Again, I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that there's been any rumors from Sony about, Silk getting her own TV show or film, etc., etc. We shall see, but I'm going to say this, guys. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and I've talked about this recently too. A lot of people don't like the characters that are like, oh, they're just carbon copy Spider-Man characters, or, how many Hulks do we need? How many Spider-Men do we need? Spider-Women do we need? But the thing is, the way that we keep the characters fresh isn't by the mantle, but by the individual. And that's why, for all those, it's like, Peter's my Spider-Man, screw Miles. Like, look, Peter's my Spider-Man too, but so is Miles. Peter will always be my #1 Spider-Man, but I love Miles to death. And the more I read of Miles, the more I love him. And I love what they're doing in the Spider-Verse films. They can coexist at the same time because while they share a mantle, they have unique stories. They're unique individuals, and that's what sets them apart, and that's what makes them interesting. In a time where, especially Marvel and DC are struggling to be innovative with their storytelling in their comics, having these characters that are so different in terms of their personalities and their struggles and what they're going through in their day-to-day lives, and their morality and their stories. That's what makes it unique, and that's what makes it fun, and that's what brings me as the reader into them. Not that they're just another Spider-Man. I mean, think about it. How many more superpowers can we think of? How many more superpowers can we create without hitting these brick walls? And I'm not saying that the brick walls are, impenetrable, but it's tough. So I'm all for this. If you've ever read Silk, Silk is a very unique character as well. So that's why I got this book on my list, guys. So those are 10 books that us broke collectors might have some pocket change to collecting, guys, that, I do. Anytime I look at books like this, I do believe that there not only is a possibility of that short-term increase in value simply because of spec or live action, whatever, but I do believe that there's long-term to be held in all of these books too, even if that means that, that long-term is just small increments. It doesn't mean that all of these books are going to be worth hundreds of dollars, et cetera, but I also believe in the characters, in the stories behind them as well. But guys, before we go today, I want you all to let me know your thoughts in the description below, what you thought of the books today. And of course, let me know if there's any other affordable keys that you guys are looking out for right now or that you guys just picked up. But also, I'm going to give a big thank you to all my Patreon members. You guys, the continued support every month. I truly appreciate you all. Sarah, Paul, Matt, Randall, Tex, Justin, Jordan, Tony, Larry, Pedro, Peter, Sagi, and Dan. You guys are, my starting lineup. I really, really do appreciate each and every one of you. I told you guys right now, the Patreon members that remain are like family to me. But if you guys are interested in supporting the channel and getting a few extra perks, the link is below as well. But again, to all my YouTube channel members, this is only $1.99 a month, guys, and it really does just help me continue to do what I do. It's only $2 a month. I do try to give you guys early access to videos when I can. And I do giveaways every so often. I try to make it every other month. But again, it's just all about adding a little donation every month to help support all that I do for you guys. So thank you to all of my YouTube channel members. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I haven't done many of these videos as of late. Let me know if you want to keep seeing videos like this from me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be well, and until next time.